Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel. I'm CTMAN'1975 and we're gonna do a video on my current key bindings and we'll go over to the wheel first. I currently use what it says keyboard, and it says the G923 is missing because I don't have it plugged in at the moment. I use real automatic, use high power mode because I like to have my engines, I like to have the high horsepower engine, so therefore we have higher so, and we use a wheel. Steering sensitivity set at 0.40. I don't know how much of a difference that makes, but I guess you'll find that out for yourself. Automatically set at 900 because that's what the G923 is, because that's what I have. I have the G923 PlayStation version. Okay, I have my overall gain set at 100. I have my high speed centering set at 100, so it automatically centers when you're going fast. I have low speed centering set at about 50%. Internal friction at the same. I guess this one is really a matter of preference. The engine resonance, I have it turned off. Okay, I thought I had it turned down a little bit, but you can feel that if you want. Surface, I have it set 20%. Bumps, collision are both set at 100%. My gearbox grind is 32. The understeer and assisted steering are about 50%. All the bump vibrations are at 100. Of course, this can also be adjusted in the G-Hub software too. It says our steering wheel is missing because it's not plugged in at the moment, so and I have the shifter bound, all the gears bound, but I don't use them at the moment because I use the shifter in automatic mode. Cursor speed at 500 times. I don't know why that is, but okay. So now that we get to the buttons, I don't use modifiers, so therefore you don't need to have them set up. You can have WASD set as your steering if you're using mouse and keyboard. I used mouse and keyboard for about the first 3 years that I played this game, so first 3 years. And I used my mouse. I used one of the side buttons on my mouse for my electricity, so I pushed the side button first, and then I push the middle mouse button to start my truck. Still have the space bar bound as my parking brake, but it's also hotkeyed to my Elgato Stream Deck Mini. That's the 6-button version for people who don't really know. Still have my wipers bound to W. It's also hotkeyed to my Stream Deck Mini. My left indicators are my paddles, or the indicators are the paddles, excuse me. Light mode I have as I believe it is X on the button on my wheel. And then I have my high beams are square, my beacons are circle, and my hazards are triangle. Because I mean, if you think about it, a lot of times, if your hazard lights, if they are a separate button on your dash, a lot of times it has a triangle on it, so it makes sense to do it as triangle. I don't use the light horn. I don't use the regular horn. I use the air horn most of the time, and my air horn is R2, I believe. My beacons are, well, I already went over that. My diff lock is V. I don't use the lift and drop axle because I let the game do that. Cruise control, I have that set to L2, I believe it is. But like I say, a lot of this stuff is a matter of preference. I mean, I have a lot of my stuff. Oh, and my cruise up and down is the plus and minus buttons on the wheel. In the with the G923, it's set up like the kind of like the G29, where you have the dial and the buttons on the. It's basically set up for racing, like in iRacing or whatever. So it has those extra buttons, and I don't really use that. So I mean, technically I could unbind it, but I don't. This, if you don't change this, this is not bound when you go into the game. You have to bind it to a button. I have mine bound to my arrow keys and the home button on my keyboard, but I also have it bound to my Stream Deck Mini as hotkeys. So I have the front suspension as the up and down arrows. I have rear suspension is left and right, and then I have the reset. I've actually used this quite a bit because when you go down dirt roads, it's nice to have your suspension up a little bit so you're not crashing your bumper into the dirt. Because when I've gone down roads like in the logging jobs where your truck is bouncing around a lot, you get lots of damage. I've gotten as much as, I think it's like 30% damage just going down dirt roads. And I have my trailer attach and detach as the PS button on my wheel. I think it's the share button. I think it's called the share button. I don't usually. Well, I do sometimes. They call it the engine brake. I call it the Jake brake. I have it as another hotkey on my Stream Deck Mini. I don't use the retarder adjustment that much. Probably, honestly, not at all. And then, of course, your windows are another thing that are not bound when you. If you don't use your windows, you don't need to bind them, but I use them occasionally. So I have mine set to it says joy missing because the wheel's not plugged in. So these are set to my D-pad. I have I think driver is up and down and passenger is left and right. And honestly, if you like to see certain things, I can be very neat to use because of it changes the information on if you have a digital dash in your truck. I use it occasionally for some of my mods. Like when I drive the I think it's the K100E has a digital readout up top. And I use, well, occasionally, if you use the GPS for all your information, F5, 6, and 7 will probably be some of your best friends there. But if you use Trucky will show up right down at the bottom of your screen or down the side, whichever way you have it set up. I have mine set up with Trucky down at the bottom. It reads out a lot of stuff. But that setting up Trucky itself is a matter of preference. So I won't even go into that anymore. Okay, I don't use... Oh, it says zoom in camera is set to... Oh, okay. Okay, that's set to have it to be the middle mouse button. That's probably why when I start my truck, it zooms in. Oh well. I don't really use photo mode that much, so you don't really... All of this stuff here is if you like to take lots of pictures when you stop at certain areas, you can do that. Like if you do Convoy in-game, some people take pictures. I don't use radio. Convoy, a lot of times when you set up Convoy, it will tell you all the stuff that you need to know. Unless you have your a wheel. Some people put their push to talk on their wheel. I do. I have it set up as R3, I believe, which would normally be on your controller. R3 is the sticks. You push usually on a controller. If you push down on a stick, they consider that like L and R3. Okay, well, I believe that's everything. So I hope you all have some interest in this video, and I hope you maybe use this as a starting off point, or maybe it gives you some ideas for your setup of your wheel. I mean, everybody has their own setup that they have. I mean, the buttons are easy to reach with your thumbs. So until next time, I hope you all have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one.